up, everyone? Back at you, as promised, with your Royal Rumble predictions, as well as some thoughts on the Go Home Raw, which was a fantastic show, especially the ending. Let's jump right in. No bullshit this time. Let's get down to business and start with Monday Night Raw. It was a Raw reunion show, and holy shit, did they stack this show with some fucking Hall of Famers. Legends out the ass. Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, X-Pac, Sting, New Age Outlaws, Ron Simmons, fucking you name it. Everybody was on the show. Pretty awesome. I'm not sure what it says about present-day WWE that it takes so many former stars and big legends to come on Raw for the fans to actually like the show. But we'll get into a topic like that at another time. I think the WWE used these guys all in great ways. You know, they didn't come out there and bore us to death or put them in stupid segments. These guys were actually in some meaningful shit. And I like just about everything they did. But the big angle and the big storyline on Raw, of course, centered around Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar, and John Cena, and this shit was great too. It's great having Brock Lesnar on the show in the way he was tonight. He looked intense, he looked serious, he even cut a promo, he was out there for multiple segments. He looked like he was in this thing. He didn't look like the part-timer that we've come to know over the last 5 months. He looked like a guy that was there to take care of some fucking business. I believe they open up the show, don't they? Brock comes out with Paul Heyman. Heyman gets on the mic first to start to cut a promo, and Brock just snatches the mic right out of his hand, which I remember him doing a few years back, like in 2002 or whenever they were together. I remember him getting pissed on SmackDown or something like that and just grabbing the mic right out of Paul Heyman's hand and cutting a promo on somebody. Maybe Big Show, I can't remember, but Brock Lesnar is fucking pissed at Seth Rollins, and he wants him out in that ring so he can kick his ass. This prompts Triple H to come out, which is interesting. Now, he comes out and tries to calm Brock Lesnar down, gets in the ring and says, why don't you let me and Paul Heyman work this out? You need to settle down. Brock Lesnar is not accepting that. He even says, you either come out here to fix this or you've come out here to fight. So Brock is now kind of rebelling a little bit against the Authority, which is interesting, and it seems like it might be putting Paul Heyman in a tight spot. So you have to wonder, with Brock Lesnar's contract seemingly coming up and we think he might go back to UFC, you know, I don't know if a face turn is even really necessary for this guy unless he decides to re-sign and stick around with the WWE for the sweet deal he has. They can do a lot more with him, and shit, maybe they could turn him babyface. I don't know. That's another discussion for another time, but Brock is starting to have some tension with the Authority, and it's awesome. This is a very weird promo, too. It felt like I was in 3 different dimensions. After Triple H is kind of failing to calm Brock Lesnar down, he's joined by Stephanie, who's also joined, I think, by Kane and Big Show for backup. And as they're all trying to talk Brock Lesnar off the ledge, here you have Seth Rollins showing up on the Titantron, and he starts talking shit to Brock Lesnar. Lesnar's losing his mind by this point. He's infuriated at Seth Rollins, and then John Cena comes out. Brand new John Cena shirt. I don't know which shade of blue his new shirt is considered, and I don't know which cereal he matches up with the best this time around, but I just laugh every time he comes out there with a new fucking shirt, matching hat, matching wristbands, matching armbands, matching everything. He's fucking hilarious. So now you got him out there on the stage, and he's talking with the Authority and Triple H, you know, talking about his friends that got fired, Ziggler, Rowan, and Ryback. And Triple H actually agrees that maybe he will give John Cena another chance to get those guys their job back, which is no surprise. The Royal Rumble's in a fucking week. We know these guys have got to be in the Rumble and have got to come back to the WWE at some point. Although I don't actually think they're using Eric Rowan in the Rumble, which is odd, the way he got fired and brought back. But anyway, Triple H says, you know what, I might actually give you a chance to get these guys their jobs back in the main event, and I'll announce who your opponent is later on in the show. So while we're on this subject, why don't we stay on the subject? Triple H and Stephanie do the backstage segment later on where they announce John Cena's opponent. Actually, it's opponents, plural, and they have a guy doing an annoying fucking drum roll. It was just driving my ears crazy. And of course, you know what they're going to do. This is John Cena we're talking about. Every time the Authority's going to make a match with this guy, it's going to be against 15 people. So you knew it was going to be a multiple opponent match. And it amazes me, if you think about this in real life, how many times is John Cena going to fall for this? How many times is he going to say, okay, Triple H, give me a match tonight, any match, I don't care who it is. If I win, I want to get my friends their jobs back. Doesn't he think that Triple H is going to completely stack the deck? The week before, he's in a lumberjack match with, 15 of the Authority's friends. Over the last 10 years, this guy has been booked in an uncountable amount of 5-on-1, 3-on-1, 10-on-1 matches. It's the same shit every time. And another thing that I wasn't really too thrilled about is you kind of knew the ending. It didn't matter what Triple H was going to do. You knew that John Cena was going to have to win this match because these guys need to be back in time for this Sunday's Royal Rumble. So Stephanie and Triple H announced that it'll be John Cena versus Seth Rollins, of course, and Kane and The Big Show in a 3-on-1 match. And of course, if he wins, Rowan, Ryback, and Ziggler all get their jobs back. And just like the opening promo, this match was all over the place, had a whole bunch of different dimensions to it. It was great, and the finish was fantastic. Crowd crowd went nuts. Everybody at home went nuts. We were all marking out. It was awesome. Sting just appears on the screen. Seth Rollins, Big Show, and Kane are working over John Cena. You got the entire Authority out there at ringside as well, so it's not a 3-on-1 match, it's a 7-on-1 match. And then I believe it's Rollins and Cena that are in the ring, and then Sting just appears on the Titantron and starts walking towards the ring. Crowd goes fucking nuts. Lights go out, you hear the crows, Sting comes out onto the stage. It's just the distraction that John Cena needs to schoolboy Seth Rollins into a 3 count, and he ends up winning these guys their jobs back. He jumps through the crowd, leaves through the crowd as the Authority tries to chase him down. It was great. It was actually a situation where a John Cena victory was enjoyable because Sting had something to do with it. And it's kind of funny. I mean, at least it takes a little bit of the edge off of Sting's meaningless debut in the WWE at Survivor Series when he helped the Authority get fired and then they just brought them all back 4 weeks later. At least now, it looks like they're only bringing Sting in, actually, to hire and fire people because now he's got 3 guys rehired into the company, so they're only going to bring Sting in for this reason, I guess. But it was still really awesome to see, and they actually did lay the groundwork for WrestleMania. It looks like it's going to be Triple H and Sting because after the match, Triple H gets pissed, gets on the mic, stands on the announce table, and starts screaming at Sting, "You don't belong here, motherfucker. You came out here and screwed up my plans again." This wasn't CEO, businessman Triple H cutting this promo. This was the fucking pissed off game, the cerebral assassin calling out Sting. He's infuriated. I'm sure Triple H is going to have a lot to say about it in upcoming weeks, and I think we can officially kind of pencil that one in for WrestleMania. You got to think that's the case, right? And just when you think it can't get any better, with Triple H standing on the announce table screaming at Sting, then Lesnar's music hits. Holy shit. He's coming out there to kick some fucking ass. He gets his hands on Seth Rollins. Big Show and Kane jump in to try to stop him, and he delivers 2 unbelievable F5s, especially the one to Big Show. I mean, Big Show almost flipped upside down and bounced. I mean, it just the ring looked like a trampoline when he landed on it. Just an unbelievably thunderous move. He also F5s Kane. Seth Rollins is able to scurry away and retreat up the ramp, and Brock, was standing tall in almost a babyface type role. Even John Cena got the hell out of there and didn't have any interaction with Brock Lesnar at all. So it's kind of got like a new interesting twist. I don't know if I'd necessarily call that a face turn by Brock Lesnar. I really don't think that's the case. But maybe it could be the beginning of something like that. The tension between him and the Authority, the tension possibly now between him and Paul Heyman and the Authority. There's a lot of different ways they can go now with Brock Lesnar. And it's nice because Brock, he had almost been laying dormant. Even though he was the WWE champion, and even though he was on the show sometimes, it was nothing like this. Brock was a big part of Raw. And he's going into the Royal Rumble looking strong as shit. And I will get into my predictions on the Royal Rumble here in just a couple of minutes. And yes, I have decided conclusively on who I'm picking to win the WWE title match at the Royal Rumble. Now, as far as the rest of Raw, like I said, they stacked up the show with a ton of legends. It was unbelievable. First of all, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, and Shawn Michaels, of all people, are going to do like a Legends panel where they're going to discuss and predict the winner of the Royal Rumble. And there was a couple of funny moments in there, too, especially where Shawn gets a little hot at Hogan and starts cutting like a little mini funny promo on him. So, after all the bad blood over the years between a lot of these guys and their egos and Shawn and Hogan and what transpired with them at SummerSlam 2005, you can kind of tell that in real life, this is not an issue between them anymore. I mean, Shawn Michaels was pretty much making a joke about that whole thing, cutting that heated promo on Hulk Hogan and say, "I'll take you back to SummerSlam 2005 or whatever he said. They're tickling us fans because we know the backstage story on that. And I think at this stage in their lives and careers, and how old they are and how shit like that happened 10 years ago doesn't even fucking matter anymore. I don't really think that's an issue for Hogan and Shawn. I always thought Shawn just couldn't stand him, but they've done several segments like this now with each other in the last year or two since Hogan's been back. So, it's kind of cool to see that all that shit's kind of under the bridge and the drama no longer exists. I don't know if Shawn or Hogan really truly forgive or forget anything that they've done or had done to them by anyone throughout their careers in wrestling, but it doesn't appear like it's hindering them from doing business together or anything like that. So I like the panel, and I like the use of the legends. They brought these guys out really to help Roman Reigns get some fucking cheers. Big Show interrupts the legends panel and comes out and cuts an unbelievably douchey fucking promo on the 3 of them. What a fucking dick. I give Big Show a lot of shit on Twitter on Monday nights just because I'm kind of tired of seeing the guy. It's just been so many years of the Big Show, and WWE uses him in such crazy ways. He's a heel one week, he's a face the next week, he's a crying, whiny little baby face, white bread pussy one week, and then he's a complete fucking ruthless dick the next. He's very versatile, I'll give him that. But really at the end of the day, Big Show is a good performer. I just think as fans, we're just burnt out on the Big Show. But when I was listening to his promo on Hogan, HBK, and Flair, I was actually getting mad. I'm like, you know what? Fuck you, Big Show. And then I had to stop myself. I'm like, wait a minute. If he's pissing me off, that means he's doing a great fucking job. And like most heels, he's completely out of his mind, telling Hogan and HBK and Ric Flair that they're jealous of him. I don't think so, Big Show. I am not even jealous of you. I doubt those three fuckers are. Not only did those guys hold more championships than you, well, maybe not, but definitely more meaningful championships than you. Guys like Shawn Michaels, when they were on top, they were drowning in pussy, okay? I don't think they really need or want to have their lives be more like the Big Show's life or career. I don't think so, big guy. So after Big Show was done insulting the shit out of these three guys, he actually knocks out Ric Flair. It kind of sucked seeing HBK and Hogan stand there. I'm like, come on, guys, you're not that much older than him. Kick his ass. The fact that they didn't get physical at all or at least try to stop the Big Show. Ric Flair, I think, was the only one that came at him, and Big Show knocked him out and then blamed the fans for it. This is your fault. Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan kneel over Ric Flair to check on him, and of course, as expected, Roman Reigns' music hits to a little bit bigger of a pop this time because Big Show just knocked out a legend, and they want to see Roman Reigns go in there and kick his ass. I think the segment was designed this way just to try to get Roman Reigns a little bit better of a reaction. I mean, shit, even I was happy to see the guy. So he gets in the ring, punches down the Big Show rolls out, and I just love it. Big Show's like, crawling up the ramp holding his shoulder with this crying, like this look on his face as if he's crying, which is great. I got to give credit to the Big Show because he actually made me mad. He's out there being such an asshole, and talking so tough too. Come on, boy, get out of this ring. I'm going to hurt you if you don't, stand down or whatever. Just being a really big bully, big asshole, and then Roman Reigns stands up to him and he cowers away and retreats. It's pretty funny. I don't really think it's the greatest feud for Roman Reigns, and I'm thinking these guys might actually be the last two in the Royal Rumble match. I don't know. I'll talk about that in a few minutes, but, that's what Roman Reigns did, actually. He clotheslined Big Show over the top rope when Big Show retreated up the ramp. So, these guys could maybe be the last two men in the Royal Rumble, or they could have a match at the pay-per-view in February. To me, it just seems like it might be a time killer for Roman Reigns. I wish they could give him a better opponent that might make his matches a little bit more enjoyable, but, at least in this segment, Big Show did a good job. Roman Reigns predictably came out there, but still ran off the Big Show in a pretty cool way, and the fans, I think, were actually happy to see Roman Reigns for once. I'm not anti-Roman Reigns. Yes, I can see the problems with him, the promo issues, how he's being pushed and things like that, but really, I do like the guy. I do want what's best for him, and I hope it all works out. I really, truly do. In another awesome legend segment, the NWO comes out, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and X-Pac, who had also done a backstage promo earlier on with Shawn Michaels and Triple H, so you had the entire clique on camera together at one time, and let me tell you, that is a pretty rare occurrence. I can only think of a couple of times where all five of those guys were on TV together at the same time. One of those times, I think, was at the Hall of Fame when Shawn Michaels got inducted, and then at the end, Triple H came out and brought all the clique members out, and they did a big hug. Other than that, I cannot think of another time where they were all together. Not even the curtain call. Remember, X-Pac was not there. And in later years, Scott Hall was so fucked up, and knocking on death's door because of his addiction problems, there was no chance of him ever showing up on a random Monday Night Raw as a special guest, or anytime Kevin Nash or even X-Pac or anybody else would come back into the WWE. One guy you could count out was Scott Hall. He was not going to be there. So anytime you can see the entire clique together on TV in any way, shape, or form, it's rare and it's awesome. And who came out to join him? Damien Mizdow and The Miz. And Mizdow is dressed like fucking X-Pac, and he looks great. It was a hilarious segment. They brought those guys in front of the clique, and it was just good stuff. Sandow is fucking hilarious. But anyway, the NWO comes out to the ring now to start cutting a promo, and the Ascension interrupts them. Now, the Ascension, I haven't talked much about them since their debut, but they've ruffled some feathers with their promos, I guess, just getting on the mic and saying that they're better than Demolition and better than the Road Warriors. And, I think a lot of people took offense to that. A lot of wrestlers took offense to that because they felt that, Hawk is dead. The Road Warriors can't ever come out there and defend themselves. To me, I can kind of see that point, but it didn't really bother me. I mean, what do you expect a heel tag team to do? Come out there and claim that they're the best. Now, maybe in some people's eyes, the Ascension was a little bit disrespectful in the way that they referenced the Road Warriors. I don't know. It's fucking wrestling. I don't think it should matter, but it did matter to a lot of people, and it got a lot of people mad. To me, I really didn't see it as anything more than the Ascension claiming that they're the greatest tag team ever, which is what most tag teams do. And as the Ascension is in the ring with the NWO, you get Bradshaw, who's been very vocal, this heel commentator, by the way, who is burying this heel tag team because he takes such great offense to them claiming that they're better than all of these legends. He gets on the mic and says, hold up, and he rips off his shirt and tie to reveal an APA shirt. APA's music hits, and Ron Simmons comes down. This is an interesting group of people people you don't often see in the same ring together at the same time, the APA and the NWO. And they didn't stop there. Another legendary tag team hits the ring, this time the New Age Outlaws, and they're the only ones that get physical. I would have loved to see Kevin Nash powerbomb one of these motherfuckers, so the Outlaws come in there and completely beat the shit out of the Ascension right in front of the NWO and APA, and then Bradshaw warms up his arm, and in a great spot, even, the NWO does that over-the-shoulder pointing thing to Bradshaw, and he winds up and nails one of those fuckers with an amazing clothesline from hell. It's awesome to see that Bradshaw can still deliver that move so effectively. It was great. So the three of those tag teams, stood over a defeated Ascension in glory, and a lot of fans felt like they were buried. A lot of people were wondering, was that good for the Ascension to be out there with all those legends, or did WWE completely bury them? I honestly think it's a little bit of both, but in today's day and age, this is the type of shit that you see on TV. It's not going to be booked the way it was in the 80s. Shit moves so fast and so quick. This is what the Ascension has been doing. They've been coming out there calling out legendary tag teams, and so sooner or later, a few other legendary tag teams had to beat the shit out of them, and that's what happened. And with all the fans screaming and whining about the Ascension's burial, not less than 30 minutes later, the WWE announces that at the Royal Rumble, the Ascension will take on the New Age Outlaws. So there you go. Everybody can stop hyperventilating. You know that the Ascension is going to defeat the New Age Outlaws pretty handily at the Royal Rumble, and the Outlaws are not going to have the backup they had last time. They're going to have Bradshaw on commentary. He's not going to get involved. There's no NWO there. It's just the Ascension versus the Outlaws, and I guess unless they decided to carry this feud maybe one pay-per-view longer, maybe the Outlaws could beat them, and then the Ascension could beat them at the February pay-per-view, but I think the Ascension beats the Outlaws right away. If the Ascension is going to come out there and claim that they're better than all these other great legendary tag teams, and then they should defeat a legendary tag team, and I think that's what they're going to do at the Royal Rumble. So this Raw, even though it wasn't a great show, it had a lot of typical dumb Raw things, horrible commentary, meaningless matches, but still, the ending of Raw and the involvement of all of these legends really saved the show, and I thought the show was wonderful because of those reasons. They also gave us a couple of good matches that looked great on paper anyway. Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan, yes please. For a second there, I thought I was transported back to January of last year when these guys were feuding with each other, but Daniel Bryan actually loses to Bray Wyatt. I think Kane interfered because you still got this ongoing Kane and Daniel Bryan feud, and I do think they wrestle on SmackDown, and if Bryan loses, I think he's out of the Royal Rumble or something like that. Also, we saw Dean Ambrose take on Wade Barrett, which I liked. At first, I was thinking, could this be the beginning of a feud? It probably wouldn't be a bad feud. The matches would probably be pretty good, and Ambrose, the way he's been losing on pay-per-view and been losing a lot ever since the Shield broke up, but he's still over at the same time, maybe an Intercontinental title run would do him some good. He was U.S. champion once before. That was kind of meaningless, but with Ziggler, holding on to that title and being involved in main event feuds, it might have elevated the title just a little bit, so giving it to Ambrose, could help him. I don't know what the fuck, but it looks like it was just a one-time only kind of meaningless match, but still good and interesting, and I would love to see some sort of a program between these guys in the future. I think that's really all I'll talk about for Raw. You guys know everything else that happened on the show. That was really the major stuff and everything that I really liked about the show. And also, I didn't really talk about it when I was mentioning the legends, but a lot of you asked me to comment on Kevin Nash. He was not originally supposed to be part of this Raw reunion. They had taken him off and replaced him, I think, with Scott Hall because of his legal issues. He was arrested on Christmas Eve in a fight with his son. I really don't think I ever really talked about that. I thought it was highly unfortunate. Kevin Nash sounds like he's got a real asshole for a son. This kid's only 18 years old, and he came home so obliterated and so wasted that he needed to be, restrained physically, which led to an altercation, and Nash on Christmas Eve gets in a fight with his own son. I know Kevin Nash is no saint. I know he tends to drink a little bit of alcohol himself, and maybe he was even drunk himself that night, but when the son comes home and you hear the 911 calls, this is just an unfortunate family situation that was made public, and Nash had to spend Christmas Eve night in jail. How fucking horrifying is that? The WWE even suspended him, until this whole thing blew over, which I guess the charges were dropped right before Raw, which allowed them to bring back in Kevin Nash. They reinstated his contract once they got word of that, and I guess they were able to bring him back in, which was awesome. I've always been a Kevin Nash fan. I've always thought he was a pretty cool dude. He does not strike me as somebody that would harm his son. He seems to really love his son, but his son probably is a spoiled brat. He does have a millionaire for a father. He probably has a lot of luxuries that most kids don't have, and he's already, at 18 years old into probably drugs and alcohol, and he's probably a complete fucking prick. And it sounds like the kid could probably benefit from an ass-kicking from Big Daddy Cool. So Kevin Nash, glad your troubles are over. He was even really cool on Twitter. I remember him thanking the police department for their professionalism and how he was treated. It sounds like they were really cool to him there. They were basically just doing their jobs and going through the process. They knew this was probably something that was going to be cleaned up and was not a serious charge or serious offense or anything anything like that, but they did have to make an arrest because technically there was an assault involved and the charges were dropped, and I'm happy, and hopefully Kevin Nash and his son can work all this shit out. I'm sure Christmas Day was very awkward for that family. I mean, did Kevin Nash buy his son any presents? Did he give them to them the next day after these guys were thrown in jail overnight for fighting? I mean, it's got to be a very awkward situation for Nash and his family and his son, and, you know, I just hope they can work it out. On to the Royal Rumble. Predictions time. I'm going to make this short, sweet, and simple. I gave it a lot of thought, or gave it a little bit of thought, and pretty much came down with who I think is going to win all of these matches, including the Royal Rumble. I might get every single one of these wrong, or I might get every single one of them right. You can agree, you can disagree, whatever you want. I don't care. As long as I'm entertained by the show, I don't care if I get every match wrong. I just want the show to be good, and I want this Royal Rumble to be better than last year's, because how could we ever forget that shit? So let's start with the undercard bullshit. How about the Outlaws and the Ascension? I already talked about that. The Ascension all day. That's who I'm picking. There's a Divas match that I care nothing about other than seeing Nikki's beautiful ass come out there. It's going to be the Bella Twins taking on Paige and Natalya. Don't care, but I got to pick my girl Nikki. The Bellas are going to win. Tag team title match, The Miz and Mizdow get another title shot against the Usos. I'm going to pick the Usos only because that's who I want to win. I love Mizdow, don't get me wrong. He's entertaining as shit, but I've made my feelings known on this tag team, and these are the tag team titles we're talking about, and I just don't want to see those belts around the waist of a joke tag team. They're a fucking joke. They're a goddamn comedy act. That's all they are. They are not legitimate tag team champions, and I do not want them to win, and I'm hoping that there's some tension teased at some point between these guys, and they can just go ahead and break up. I thought they were already on that path, and it seems like they've, you know, kind of reunited them back together, but I don't know. I would like to see the Miz and Mizdow kind of end this run and them do something else with Mizdow. I mean, he's definitely, Damian Sandow has definitely proved himself. The fans like him. If WWE took him and decided to push him again, I'm pretty sure the fans would accept him. There is a pre-show match, which it's quite possible that I care about this match even less than the Divas match because there's no Nikki, but it's the trio of the New Day taking on Tyson Kidd, Cesaro, and I believe Adam Rose. Again, I don't care, but I have to pick the New Day. This is a new tag team, even though I think they're horrible and I'm not a fan so far. I was definitely more optimistic during the vignettes that they were running before they debuted, but now that they're here, they're just, I don't even know what to make of them. I'll talk about the New Day some other time, but they're not doing it for me. But still, they're new, and WWE is trying to push them and putting them against a random tag team just thrown together. It would look pretty shitty if the New Day lost, so I'm picking the New Day to win the pre-show match. WWE title match, Brock Lesnar versus John Cena versus Seth Rollins, triple threat match for the WWE World Heavyweight title. I said in my last commentary that I was going to think about it. I wasn't sure who I was going to pick, but really, I am sure who I'm going to pick. Why in the world would I go against what I've been saying for the last 6 months? Even though I know in my heart of hearts that this is no guarantee that this guy is going to win, I think it would look stupid if I went against anything, you know, that I've been preaching for the past several months, so I'm picking Brock Lesnar to somehow retain the WWE title. He is too big of a draw to have him lose now. I think that would hurt his WrestleMania match in any way, whoever he works with, unless there's some sort of interference that causes him to lose the belt, and he ends up feuding with that guy. I don't know. John Cena, he could win and go into WrestleMania. I talked about that too, as maybe, a babyface match against Roman Reigns and a torch passing, but I'm not sure if that would work. And for Brock Lesnar, after the year he had, for him just to randomly lose it now in some triple threat match at the Royal Rumble, and this triple threat match really helps the WWE a lot. They can have John Cena lose without getting pinned. Hell, they can even have Brock Lesnar lose without getting pinned, which is also an option. But really, at the end of the day, I think Brock has to come out of this match with the title. Now it's time for the Royal Rumble. Now, this is tough. I mean, it really could go to a lot of guys. It could go to Daniel Bryan. It could go to Roman Reigns. It could go to fucking Rusev. Don't forget that guy's on a tear too, and that could be a nice swerve. That could be something that would surprise us. It could even go to Ziggler. They pushed him hard last year, finally. He's now been rehired by the company, and he's still feuding with the Authority, and it's his time. It might be his opportunity, to really grab the brass ring, so to speak. So there's a lot of guys that it could be, but at the end of the day, when I watch what they're doing on Monday Night Raw, whether you like it or not, and remember, prediction does not mean this is what I want to see happen. This is just a prediction. This is what I think the WWE is going to do. It's not my personal feelings or opinions, so don't freak out. But I really think the WWE is going to go in the predictable direction and make it Roman Reigns. He's my pick. Roman Reigns will win the Royal Rumble 2015. I actually hope I'm wrong. I actually hope it's Daniel Bryan. I would love to see Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 31. That would be fucking awesome. You watch what they've been doing with Reigns, his feud with the Big Show, him clotheslining Big Show over the top rope and making it very much about that. And plus, they clearly want to push this guy, and I think that's the plan. And Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns might not be horrible. Hey, it's a new opponent. You know what I mean? You know, aren't we tired of Brock and Cena? Fucking 4 Brock and Cena matches. Give me a break. Put somebody in there that can be exciting with Brock Lesnar. I loved his match he had with CM Punk at SummerSlam that year. I want to see him in the ring with opponents like that. So Seth Rollins being added to the mix is great. A Daniel Bryan Brock Lesnar match could be very promising. And Roman Reigns, even though he's a bigger guy, he's still a young guy. And I don't think his matches with Brock Lesnar would necessarily be horrible. I don't know if the fans are going to accept him, but the work in the ring I don't think would be bad. So even though I'm not completely happy about it, I'm going to reluctantly pick Roman Reigns to win the Royal Rumble, but I'm going to kind of hope that somebody else wins instead. I think my predictions are a nice blend and a nice mix of baby faces and heels. I think it seems balanced out, and I could completely see the WWE going in this direction. So leave me your thoughts. Give me your predictions on the Royal Rumble. What do you see happening? Don't give me any shit about my predictions. You got to remember, I'm pulling these things directly out of my ass. I am in no way, shape, or form married to those ideas, so if you don't agree with me, just watch the Royal Rumble to see if I'm right or wrong, and don't give me a fucking hard time. But I am interested to hear what you guys think, and I want to know, who you think's going to win the Royal Rumble, who's going to win the title match, what do you see happening at WrestleMania, because it's starting to take shape, and I think after the Royal Rumble, a lot of our questions will be answered, and next Monday night's Raw should be very good and very interesting, and in case you're wondering, I will be up live for both shows. I have made arrangements in my personal life and work to be home not only for the Royal Rumble, but Monday Night Raw the next night. I will be on Twitter talking constantly about what we're seeing. Most likely, I will come up here with a Royal Rumble reaction video. Usually on these big pay-per-views, I'll come up right away and give a quick reaction of what we saw. So that is my plan. I can't really guarantee that's going to happen, but that is my plan. A couple hours after the Royal Rumble, I will try to come up and just give an initial reaction. And then, of course, Tuesday after the Monday Night Raw, when all the dust settles, I'll come up for a bigger commentary. So enjoy the Royal Rumble. I will talk to you guys in a few days. Until then, peace.